As a software engineer, poor communication is way more expensive than the code that you're writing. Missed requirements, not taking ownership on different issues that come up, endless rewrites, and broken trust between the teams that you're working with are all technical problems that could have been resolved if you were able to communicate that more effectively. And in this video, I'm going to break down why communication is costing a lot of your time, money, and effort when you're building out features and doing the things that you need to do. Why is communication very important? Why is this something that you need to work on? As a developer, when you first start out, you're going to be working on all these different easy bugs and projects that you don't necessarily need to question the requirements. You're just looking at the requirements, building it, looking at the bug, try to solve it, and you move on. But as you start to work on more complex projects, you need to be more engaged. And some of you developers out there are not engaged at all. Why are these requirements written this way? Like, what problem are we trying to solve? Like, thinking outside the box to where you could question exactly what needs to be done. And by doing that, you get more answers out of that as opposed to just sitting there and working through whatever's on that project. And this has hurt every single developer that's worked on on different projects in the past, to where they build something and then it's abandonware. No one wants to use it because it doesn't solve the initial problem that people are asking for, or maybe it just wasn't that important in the first place. So being accountable for the projects that you work on and actually bringing up, hey, are these requirements even necessary for the project that we're working on right now, will save you a lot of time and headache. Okay, I've dealt with that before too. You know, like I worked on projects and I thought, hey, we really hit the nail on the head here. We got everything done. And then I'm happy and I move on with my life. And then to come to find out, no one's really using the feature that I built. And it just brings down your morale a little bit. It was like all that time I could have been putting more of it into something else. So being able to sit there and actually read through the requirements, make sure you understand what problem we're trying to solve. And if something is not clear, bring it up to your product manager or stakeholder will save you so much time, bro. You got to do that. It doesn't matter. And without communication, you're going to be dealing with a lot of missed requirements and rewrites. Trust me, when you're building the wrong feature, if you're given the requirements blanketly and you're just like, you know what, this is what I need to build, you're going to realize relatively quickly this is not the entire picture. There's going to be a lot of unanswered questions. So by you asking questions early and often in the process before you dive into the weeds of coding things and building stuff and spending a lot of brain power and solving these problems, will disqualify some of the requirements that are already written, or at least make them better. If you get vague requirements, bring it up to your product manager. Read through everything. Have AI review the requirements. If it understands the context of your project, have it understand what the requirements are for the feature that you're trying to build, and just evaluate whether this is something that is going to help solve a problem or not. I do this a lot now with requirements that is given to me. I already understand the project that we're working on, so I sparingly use it. But for just getting a second opinion on edge cases or different things that I didn't think about, I have AI be an assistant in helping me think through some of the solutions that I was thinking about building, you know, and then also bringing it up to the product manager and documenting that and say, hey, this is what I analyzed, and based on the feedback that I got, this is the route that we should probably take. Do you guys agree with this or not? And usually it's yes, we should go with this plan, or this should be in a future state. So like some of the edge cases that I figured out could be used in like a V2, V3, so on and so forth. And at least I could build the foundation for this project and have someone else take ownership of it. Taking control of that and really dining in and honing in on those requirements is going to save you so much time. It's going to save you a lot of time, bro. If you want to talk about tech debt, whatever project that you're working on and you're just building it blindly, you're going to be accumulating a lot of tech debt. There's going to be accumulating a lot of the code not just meshing well. It's just touching other areas of your project. And now you have to go and refactor that, and it's going to break other things. And you're going to deal with a lot of conflicts to where you got to call other engineers in to review those changes. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So the more questions that you ask in the beginning of a project, the more curious you are, is going to help you with mitigating tech debt. Because I hate to deal with tech debt. After I build something, I'm done with it. Okay, if we need to add new functionality, I'm all cool with that. But if we're adding tech debt to where I got to refactor this entire part of the project, I'm going to be frustrated, and I'm probably going to have AI do it. But even with AI's assistance, they get it wrong too. AI gets it wrong. You have to pick your battles a little bit. And if you're able to do that, you should be fine. But you not asking questions often and early is going to create a lot of tech debt. And then think about the features that you're building. In the story I already told you about where I built something and no one was really using it. It's because I wasn't curious and I didn't ask the right questions. Okay. And the more projects that I work on and I create this audit trail of failed projects with different product managers, you're going to have a lot of broken trust. You're going to have a lot of pushback on whether you could handle working on these projects or not. And this is why you need to take accountability for everything that you work on. Now, I'm not saying to be super perfect with everything that you build. At least if it's at least 80%, that should be enough. Because you can't make everything perfect, but at least it functions, it gets the job done, it outlines every single requirement that is on this project. It does exactly from point A to point Z, and you should be straight. But the more projects that you're failing and you're not bringing any value, you're not taking ownership on just thinking outside the box, the more broken trust you're going to have between the different teams, and they're not going to pick you for these major projects. So if your goal is to get better, not only at coding, but then also as an engineer, this is something that you need to work on. This communication stuff is very important. All right. We got to get out of our comfort zone with not communicating and just doing everything on our own. With that, you're going to be dealing with a lot of burnout, frustration, just doing the wrong things over and over again, right? And not getting anywhere. Being unsatisfied every single day when you wake up to hit the computer and work on stuff, you're going to be unsatisfied with your progress because it's usually is not the job itself. It's the way you are handling the problems that come to you. So if you're able to communicate and say things that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's stupid, doesn't necessarily mean that you don't know what you're talking about, but staying curious and asking questions early is going to save you so much time and headache, and you'll be better when it comes to being an engineer. All right. And as a senior engineer now, in my career, I learned that communication was very important. At first, I would communicate here and there on different things. And then if the requirements were missed, I would usually point the finger at product on why that's the case. But we have to work together, and working together as one is what's going to make you successful. So if you're able to have one-on-ones with your product manager and just talk about just an outline of what the project is, and see that there's some discrepancies in between what the stakeholders are asking for versus what is documented, is going to open up the conversation to get the right requirements, and is going to show that you actually care about this project and that you actually care that you guys are building trust with each other. I'm not judged based on the code that I write now. Like, I have AI to do all that stuff for me, and I validate whatever it does. That doesn't mean I'm vibe coding. I'm still doing majority of the work, but at least it helps me with wireframing what I need to do. And that's very helpful and productive on my part. But I'm judged based on the clarity and alignment I have with the people that I'm working with. They don't care about the code itself. If it functions, it functions. But at the same time, did we solve the problem at hand? If we didn't do that, then it's a huge issue. And this is why you need to get people in these rooms early and often to discuss what the requirements are, what the problem is, what the solution is. And you as a developer, you could just write documentation out and propose a solution to that problem and have the stakeholders and product managers read through everything and give you the green light. So at least you have some type of granular control around what you're building. And once you write everything out first and foremost, before you dive into the code, it's going to be easier for you to implement. And a lot of you guys don't do that anyway. So you need to take more accountability and ownership on the things that you're building. And, this is what good communication looks like. Okay. Always question the requirements, always documenting issues or edge cases, defining a proposal of what you need to do. If you do all those steps, it's going to be easier for you to build any project that's out there. It doesn't matter how small or large it is. You're going to have that communication style down to a point where it's easy enough to understand what needs to be done. And you don't have to ask a lot of questions, later in the game. But being part of the solutioning process to where the stakeholders are telling you what the problem is, you're working with the product manager to define those requirements, is going to help you tremendously with building a project and actually not accumulate tech debt. So I implore you guys to work on your communication skills. It is very important that you do this, because if you don't and you just want to sit on your own island and work on your own projects and then just look at what you're building and see that no one's using it, you're going to be burnt out. You're going to be frustrated. You're not going to be happy with what you're doing, and you're not going to progress any further. So think about it this way. It's not about the code that you're writing today. You have AI to help you with all that stuff. It's now about how you communicate effectively to show that you're competent, that you're an authority figure, and that you know what you're doing, right? So if you're able to do all that stuff, everything is going to change for you. All right. So that's it, guys. That's the video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know how you feel about communication, if you're struggling with that or not. If you are, you could reach out to me or book a one-on-one consultation. We could work on how you can communicate at a certain level to define requirements and practice how you define those requirements. And we could discuss any problems that you're dealing with and figure out solutions to those, and work through some of these communication steps that I talked to you guys about today, and use that for whatever project you're building with your team. All right. We'll talk soon.